Welcome back to the Stress Sisters. Today, we are diving into the shockingly simple, science backed hack that can change literally every single part of your life. I know you're like, oh my God, what is it? Okay. I'm just going to tell you, it is something that you already know how to do. You've been doing it your whole life, but you're probably not doing it right, depending on what your goal is. Okay. What we are talking about is walking, but it's not just any type of walking. In today's episode, we are pulling from research from Professor Shane O'Mara, and he is a neuroscience expert from Trinity College in Dublin who studies how walking transforms your brain and your body. And according to Professor O'Mara, there are actually different types of walking that can either boost your productivity and creativity, or help you solve a problem or lower your anxiety and stop that loop of anxious thoughts.
So I'm gonna be honest, like hearing that now I have to think about like my different types of walks that I take, honestly, it makes me feel a little bit anxious just thinking like shit, now I have to like there are different types of walking that I need to do. And what if I'm not doing the right type of walk? But I'm a little bit stressy today in general. So if you are feeling like I was feeling when I first heard this of like, oh my God, you're telling me now I have to like focus on different kinds of walks for different types of things, don't worry. It's not that complicated. Truly, once I started implementing these different types of walks, like in my own life, it was such a game changer. We're going to get to all of that, but you guys know how much we love to like nerd out on the science behind this stuff, right? So for me, I always find that it's way more impactful when you actually understand like why your brain is responding the way it does, why your body is responding the way it does. And you know, that's why I want to get into like this next segment. I want to get into like what is the science behind it. And again, I just want to say like if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, you're going to tell me to go for a walk, do I really need to listen to a whole podcast to talk about going for a walk? I get it. Personally, my initial reaction whenever I hear someone say like go for a walk, or I see like an Instagram reel like the number one exercise for whatever, or walking benefits, honestly my first reaction is like yeah, okay, shut up, everyone knows that walking is good for you, like tell me something I don't know, right? But I need to stop being so eye rolly about these things. And if you're kind of eye rolly too, you need to stop being so eye rolly because it really is incredible. And if everyone knew all of like the incredible things that walking does for your brain and your body, like all of the benefits, I swear everyone would be out there walking way, way more. The benefits are so insanely powerful that after listening to this and knowing like what we know, you're basically an idiot if you can walk and you're choosing not to. Okay. So let's get into like the nerdy, the science, the like the why behind it. That way you can understand why walking is so incredible and so underrated.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I don't know what it is, but it feels like, I know, like, again, we've all been walking for our entire lives, but I feel like it's really been for the past like 5 or 6 years that it's been like this whole thing on social media that everyone's, oh, like go outside and go for a walk, go get your steps, like da 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 da. It's a whole thing. And I agree. I feel the same way that like it's almost like it's so repetitive that it's like, okay, like I know I need to go for a walk, but like I truly don't understand how it benefits me. So I want to like walk through all the ways that it actually does benefit your brain and your body. So what?
Was that pun intended? You want to walk through it?
No, but see, I I'm just on one today.
All right, tell us about what happens when you walk.
Okay, so the very first thing is you get a little boost for your brain. Okay, so walking increases blood flow and oxygen to the brain, which boosts your focus and your mood. And I want you to think about your brain like an iPhone that's running on low battery. So walking is pretty much like plugging it in to a fast charger. Okay, so more oxygen means more energy for your brain cells to fire up, which makes it easier to concentrate and stay sharp. So if you've ever been, in the middle of a workday and you do decide to get up and go for a walk outside, you've been sitting in the office all day and you come back and you feel like you can concentrate more, you almost kind of have that like second wind. That's probably why. Okay. The second thing that it does is you reset your stress. So, walking activates the vagus nerve, which calms your stress response and actually lowers cortisol. And the vagus nerve is like your body's stress thermostat. So when you walk, it's like turning down the heat. Okay, your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, and that signals to your body we're safe, you can relax now. And studies have shown that just 10 minutes of walking can lower cortisol levels, which is the hormone responsible for that, wired but exhausted feeling that we all have experienced, pretty much every single day of our lives. The other thing that I think is really cool, and I'm sure you've also experienced this without even realizing, is when you go for a walk, you think more creatively. So walking lights up the, problem solving and idea generation centers in your brain. So you can think of it like shaking a snow globe. And when you're stuck on a problem, walking is kind of like shaking that snow globe, and it helps stir up new connections and ideas that were buried under the stress and mental clutter that you've been holding onto for so long. And going back to Dr. O'Mara, so according to his findings, people who walk generate twice as many creative ideas compared to those who sit, which is like wild. I feel like this is why like you and I like walk while we work all day long.
Mm-hmm.
But it's why some of the world's greatest thinkers like Steve Jobs and even Aristotle were famous for their walking meetings, which like when I when I like put those pieces together, I was like, oh shit, like that really makes so much sense. And it's funny, like whenever, I feel that way, like whenever like we feel stuck and it's like we go for a walk and then we talk to each other like a walking meeting, it's like, oh my gosh, like we just, we're like 10 times more creative.
It's really funny. Right before we did this podcast, we actually we did a little walking meeting, and I didn't go outside to go for a walk because it's about to rain, but I was walking laps in my kitchen. And truthfully, like you can attest, right before I got on the call, I felt like so blocked. I felt like kind of stressy. And just even after talking to you, like walking for 20 minutes, all of a sudden I feel like way more clear. I feel like I have like new ideas. I feel like I can see a clearer path forward. So, just proof that it actually works. And like going back to all of those things, right, about, getting that, brain boost to be able to concentrate and stay more sharp and lowering stress and thinking creatively, you can see how all of those things are helping you, especially in a professional setting, right? Whether you work in a corporate office, whether, you run your own business, or you're kind of doing a mix of both, all of those things are so beneficial because when you do have to be on your A game all the time, it's you kind of you're looking for that natural boost. We don't want to have to be constantly taking supplements or relying on external things. Just walking can help with that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you also look at like your personal life or your intrapersonal life or even like your physical body, the changes or the benefits that walking has on those elements as well, it's so incredible. And one thing that walking helps with that I've always found fascinating is it can help with depression and anxiety. So walking has actually been shown to decrease depression and anxiety as effectively as medication. And that's incredible because I think about however many people that I know who are on some type of medication for depression and anxiety. And part of me is like, do you walk? Like, is that part of your day? Are you incorporating that with your medication? Because it's just as effective as medication. There are even studies that show that just walking for 35 minutes a day, it can significantly reduce your symptoms of depression and prevent future depression cases. And that's because, when you're walking, your brain releases endorphins. Those are like your feel good chemicals, right? And it's kind of like acts like a natural antidepressant. It's that feeling of being accomplished, that happy feeling, after I spend time with you, right, and we're laughing really hard, you just feel like that calm, happy, like accomplished feeling, or after like a really good workout. That's the same type of feeling that you get from going on a walk. So if you are someone that does struggle with depression and anxiety, 100% need to add walking into your repertoire.
Yeah, I just want to add to that because I know that you've said this recently to me before, but it's the act of like your body moving forward. It just kind of naturally, like your brain follows that, which it makes so much sense of like you just almost have to get into that actual physical action first for your brain to be able to follow.
Yeah, well, it's funny you bring up your brain because that's another benefit of walking, right? Like it actually makes your brain younger. So when you walk, it helps release, it's called BDNF. And I'm not going to get into like what all of that means, but basically it's just like a fancy protein that helps to keep your brain more young and more resilient, right? So you can almost think of it like, Miracle Grow for your brain, right? It helps like your neurons grow, it helps them connect, it helps them stay strong. And that's why so many doctors are so big on walking to prevent against like age related memory loss, right? That's something that's so common. It's on the rise. It's like globally. And going back to Dr. O'Mara and his research, he actually found that consistent walking will slow your brain from aging, which is incredible. So, like, the whole idea of keeping your brain like physically younger, even though you are getting older in age, that's incredible. You stay more mentally sharp in your later years. Um, Another amazing benefit is like it helps to lower inflammation, right? So I think a lot of times when we think about inflammation, we think about like sore muscles, but inflammation isn't just about like, feeling a little bit puffy after you work out. If you're inflamed, you can have, bad mood issues. It can cause you to be more cranky. Like it kind of messes with your moods. It can cause you to feel really tired, really fatigued, really sluggish. And it can even lead to weight gain or increases on the scale. So one of the cool things about walking is that it does help to lower inflammation throughout your body, which means that, well, now you're going to have more energy. Your digestion is going to be so much better. So, you'll go to the bathroom every day. You're not going to feel backed up. If you have just like fewer aches and pains in general, and it's a really natural way to kind of like flush out that stress and tension, which I just think is, incredible. It's such a natural way to take care of your body. And then the last thing, and I'm going to stop ranting on all of the amazing benefits of walking because I feel like we could keep talking about this all day, but the impact that walking has on your relationships is so important. So whether you are walking with your family or whether you're walking with a partner, research shows that people who walk together, they actually communicate better and they feel more connected, which is incredible. And I know that that's something I started implementing in my relationship. It's something that you have implemented in your relationship. And it really is such a beneficial time to be able to connect. It's almost like couples therapy on the go, right? Like you're walking side by side. It's easier to have, those tough conversations. It makes them feel a little bit less intense. The movement in itself, it helps to boost your bonding hormones, right? Like the oxytocin that gets released and makes you feel bonded or connected to someone. And plus, it just gives you more intentional time to be able to connect, which is so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I can't tell you the amount of times that, and like I just know, and like it was before I actually knew like the science behind this, but I just knew like when there were times where, maybe like Enrico was, really like angry or we were just like kind of butting heads on something. I was always like, let's just go for a walk and we don't even have to talk. And like, let's just get outside and go for a walk and just start moving. And then like naturally, and it was like clockwork, like 5 minutes into the walk, like someone just started talking, and then by the end of the hour we had this like whole conversation. Everything was like great and fine, but sometimes it really just takes that walk to make that happen. So I love that one. And I feel like, listening to this list of benefits of walking, and like, I mean, I never thought I could sit here and talk about walking for a full 30 minutes, but basically, walking is like giving your brain a double espresso, a therapy session, a Botox injection, and a hug all at once, right?
Yeah, like pretty much. And yeah, if you think about it, and this is the sad part and kind of the scary part, but if you think about it, that's probably what all of our bodies are craving, right? Because modern life and hustle culture and being stuck in offices, that's left us completely disconnected from any type of movement. It's so different, especially in the US, like versus in Europe where people are walking everywhere. In the US, like we're in our cars all the time, right? We're at our desks all the time. If you think about it, we sit on average for at least 8 to 10 hours a day, right? You're in your car, you're in your office, you're back in your car, then you're on the couch, then you're hopping into bed, right? And just laying there and like wash, rinse, repeat. You're not moving, you're sedentary for most of your day, right? And our brains were just not designed to be so sedentary, right? And if you look back, back in the day, back to the caveman days, right? Walking is what kept humans sharp. That's what kept us innovative. But instead of turning to movement now, we turn to all the quick fixes, right? Like, let me just like load up on caffeine, or I'm going to try a new diet or a new cleanse, or, I'll escape how I'm feeling by scrolling on my phone or stress shopping, or, trying out whatever like the latest productivity hack that's circulating on TikTok. Like we look to all of these things because they almost give us like that tiny dopamine hit, right? But it's a temporary hit. And then you're just left in this vicious cycle of you don't actually solve the problem. You're not like solving it from the inside out. You're slapping a band-aid on it. And you're just in this cycle of constantly chasing like the next temporary dopamine hit. Meanwhile, the most effective solution has been under your nose this whole entire time. It's just walking. Your body was designed to move. So move your body the way it was designed to move. It's so simple.
I know. And it's like that could not be more true. Like, it's like we're ignoring the most obvious science backed reset button that we have at our fingertips, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't require any fancy equipment. Like, literally, anyone can go do it, and you can go do it like right now. Right? 10 minutes of walking can do more for your stress, your mood, your focus, your longevity than an hour of, sitting on the couch, doom scrolling, or chugging another latte because you're trying to wake up. Like, basically, we're out here trying to think our way, or scroll our way and like search for inspiration, or like what is like the next thing that's out there that's like, ooh, let me try this hack. We're trying to like figure our way out of stress while our bodies are screaming, move, bitch, like get up and move. Okay, ludicrous. It's like our caveman survival instinct kicking in. And I actually learned this the hard way. Like, during one of the most stressful times of my life, I was trying everything to feel better. And like, looking back on it, I'm like, God, like, that was a little crazy. But like, I was, it was like meditating, and I was like researching supplements, and I was color coding my calendar. Like, it was obsessive, like anything except walking, because I kept telling myself I was too busy. Okay. And so like, I didn't even want to wait for, an elevator to come up to my 26th floor so that I could go do a 10-minute lap around my building. Like, even that felt like too much wasted time when my to-do list was already drowning me. So instead of waiting for an elevator to go for a 10-minute walk, I was like laying down on my bed at like 10 o'clock in the morning trying to meditate my way out of it, right? But like, the more that I put off walking, the worse I felt. I was really cranky. I was exhausted. I was like just not myself at all. And my brain just kind of felt like mush. It was just kind of like a shell of who I was. And I felt like I couldn't focus. And eventually I hit this breaking point, and I decided, okay, this is not working. So let me just go for a walk again. Like, let me just like get out and like move my body again. And of course, to no surprise, it was a total game changer. I didn't even have to go outside, right? Like, I got one of those desk trays on Amazon for my treadmill. It was like $30. And I started to walk on the treadmill while I was working. I know that a lot of people have like walking pads and like a standing desk. You can do that too. But it was just slow, easy movement. Like, literally on the first day that I started doing that, I felt like a different person. I felt accomplished. I was calmer. I was clearer. I felt less stuck because my body was in that forward motion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so long story short, everything that we've been saying, walking works. And maybe you already know this. You probably have heard it a million times from, scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. But maybe you didn't know that you can be intentional about how you walk. Okay, like depending on what you want to get out of the walk. And that's where I found Professor O'Mara's research really cool, because he found that there are actually 3 specific types of walking that are each designed to activate different parts of your brain and body. So whether you need a creative spark, or you need to focus better, or you need a way to stop spiraling from your anxious thoughts, the way that you walk matters. And I know some of you are like, oh God, here we go. But like it really is true. And it's kind of crazy. And it's funny because now like when me and Jess call each other and I'm like, oh, like you're on your creativity walk? Oh, we're doing a productivity walk. And it's like so stupid, but like you can't unhear it once you hear it.
But it
Okay.
works too. Like it so works. So yes, like if there's anything, I am the biggest skeptic in the entire world, and I don't know if Melissa is as big of a skeptic as me or worse of a skeptic than I am, but together we are like hyper skeptical. If we can put our guard down for a second and just try this, and we're standing on the other side going, holy shit, guys, like this actually works. You can put your guard down too and just like hear us out and then go try it. And then you'll believe it just like we do.
Well, here's the thing. So me and Jess and our younger sister Michelle, we have this thing where we bandwagon everything. So one of us tries something and then the other two are like, okay, I'll bandwagon that. And so our like group chat and our text is like literally called bandwagon because we just do everything that the other one does. So I want you to bandwagon me and Jess. We're all sisters right now and we're all going to do the same exact thing. So I want you guys to really, like Jess just said, like try to adopt these different styles of walking and then use whichever one you need. So let's break down each one and how you can use them to feel better whenever you need to feel better. Okay, so the first type of walking is a creativity walk. So like if you need to be in like idea generation mode, whether it's for work or whatever it is that you need to do. Going back to the snow globe example that I talked about earlier, you can think of a creativity walk like shaking up that snow globe. Okay, so imagine your mind is packed with glitter. I know Jess is for sure. You have your to-do list, your stressors, your worries, and like all this other mental clutter that's just kind of like hanging out together in there. When the snow globe is still, everything just sits there, right? It's just kind of like clouding your thoughts. But when you start walking, it's like giving that snow globe a little shake, right? Like a little song might go off. I don't know, but it stirs everything up. And as the glitter settles, your best ideas start to float to the top. And they're ideas that were totally buried under the mental mess before. And so if you've ever been in a situation where like you feel like you have like a writer's block or like any type of like creative block where you're like, God, like why I need to step away. Well, that's why, because like you're actually like there's too much going on and you do need that actual movement to like shake things up. And it works so well again because walking activates your brain's default mode network. That's the part that kicks in when you're not focused on anything specific. It's like venting your brain, and it's why you can like randomly remember, like a perfect comeback from an argument 3 days ago while you're in the shower. Your brain finally, when you're in the shower, finally has room to connect the dots in the background without you forcing it. It's almost like your brain goes into low power mode, right? Like we're not shutting down, but conserving energy while quietly solving problems in the background. It's pretty cool. So to do a creativity walk, you need to keep it loose. This isn't a power walk. Okay, calm down, Sally. Like we're not power walking here. It's more of an unstructured, relaxed walk. There's no destination, there's no agenda. Maybe it should probably just be you, unless like you're better with someone else to like kind of vent things out. But like just be with you, be with your thoughts, have an open mind. Go outside, that's ideal because in nature, that can add another layer of calm. But even if it's just pacing around your house, like that works too. The key here is just for it to be like a free flowing walk. Okay. Try to turn off all of your distractions. Like I know it's very difficult. I have a very hard time with this. Like when I go for a walk outside by myself to like, I catch myself, even if I put my phone away, I'm like, I keep pulling out to check it for some reason, but like try to like not be on your phone, no music, no podcast. I know it's crazy. Like we're in 2025 and it's like nothing. No, nothing. Like just go listen to nature, like listen to the wind, like see the sky, right? Pick your freaking head up. Just let your mind wander. Okay. It's just you and your thoughts. And it's almost like, flipping through Pinterest boards in your brain. And instead of pinning recipes that you're never going to make, you're stumbling upon ideas that actually solve the problems that you've been stuck on. Okay. And I do just want to like talk to my fellow overthinkers here because when you're on this walk, it's so important that you don't pressure yourself to like think your way to an idea. Okay, like that is the opposite of what we want to do on this type of walk. You don't want to force anything, even if nothing comes to you. Like just let it. Just don't force it. It's the complete opposite. You are creating space for ideas to find you. They're coming to you. You're not going to them. So just move, breathe, let your thoughts stretch out. Okay, observe nature. If you're outside, it's the ultimate stress-free brainstorming session. And I don't know about you, but I always find that my best ideas come when I am walking with no distractions.
Like 100%. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but honestly, this is something that changed my life and it helped me to eliminate so much stress. The same way that you said, Melissa, I would always feel like when I took time to walk, like, oh my gosh, I'm taking time away from work. I'm taking time away from an opportunity to be productive. So I was like, let me just be productive on my walk as well. And, I'm going to walk with my head down, like buried in my phone. I'm going to respond to emails and respond to Slack messages and, client questions, or if there's a problem that I'm dealing with in work or, whatever, I would try to pop on a podcast or a YouTube video to try to like learn something about the problem that I was facing, or like, what's a new hack? What's a new tip? But it's almost like the more that I tried to pack in, right? Like you said, the more I tried to like think my way to a solution, the more I tried to like be productive in these types of walks, the less space I actually had to let my mind just think creatively, to let my mind vent, and to it's almost like I was looking for all of the solutions outside of me, right? Like someone else tell me what to do. And when I finally was able to put away all the distractions, and sometimes I just leave my phone completely at home because it was too tempting. But when I was able to finally shift to, I am going to go on this walk and I'm not going to have any distractions and I'm just going to let my mind free flow. I felt like I was able to, like hear my own inner intuition more clearly. I was able to kind of like tune in with that. I felt like I was able to tune in with God and just kind of like, let that conversation flow freely. I felt like I was able to really appreciate nature. And like you said, like how beautiful and blue the sky is and how nice the trees look. And it was almost like all of my senses were tuned into the things that actually matter, right? Like the energy, the life, all of that, and not just like being more productive.
Well, you're more present when you're
Yeah.
doing that, right? And like you think about, we all say like, oh my gosh, like this week flew, today flew, I can't wait for Friday. It's just like, and then it's in the quote that always gets me is, from The Office. It's like the final episode when Andy is like, I wish you knew, what is the quote? I wish you knew you were in the good old days. What is the quote? I'm trying, it was,
Yeah, it's like I wish you knew that these were like you're in the good old days, like
yeah.
while they're actually happening,
Yeah.
essentially.
And
Yeah,
and and that's exactly it. Because like you look back and you're like, wow, like it's been 10 years since that. I can't believe it. But like, and it seems almost like today with all the things that we have constantly distracting us, we're never present.
yeah,
So doing this and being able to turn off those distractions and really just let your mind vent, I think would just help you tremendously. Yes, to be creative, but also to be more present.
yeah. I love that, and there's definitely a time and place for a creativity walk. I normally try to incorporate just one each day, like just even 10 minutes. Like everyone is so busy, I get it, but take 10 minutes of your time to just let your mind vent. You're going to feel so much better. That said, I also like to use the second type of walk, right? And this is kind of in that GOMO that I was telling you about before, which is your productivity walk, right? For like when you really need to focus or you need to shift into high performance mode. And I'm not saying the high productivity walk is, trying to be productive while you're walking. This walk is about clearing your brain to be able to get stuff done, right? I want you to almost think of like your productivity walk as like a midday espresso shot, right? Like you kind of run over to Starbucks, you're like, give me a double, throw it back, but then you don't have the caffeine crash at like 3 o'clock, right? So that's what I want you to think about this walk as. And unlike the creativity walk, your productivity walk is going to be more fast paced. Okay. This is a brisk walk. It's a purposeful walk. Like you're walking like you're on a mission. Okay. The goal of the productivity walk is to snap you out of like the mental fogginess and get your brain firing on all cylinders. And this works because when you are walking at that faster pace, right, you want to be around like 100 steps a minute. What you're doing is you're actively increasing blood flow to your brain, and that rush of oxygen, it kind of wakes everything up, right? So you're increasing your alertness, you're increasing your focus, you're releasing more dopamine. That's your brain's like motivation chemical, like that's the chemical that's almost giving you that like let's do this type of a feeling, right? It makes it easier to kind of like power through your to-do list. I always think about it like hitting the power up in Mario Kart, right? Like when you grab the mushroom and then suddenly all of a sudden like you're in the cart and just like zooming ahead, you're dodging the bananas, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what dopamine does to your brain. It takes you from like that sluggish, distracted to being like more laser focused, ready to crush your do list and avoid the bananas.
I think cocaine does that too.
Well, I don't know about you, but mom listens to this podcast. We're not going to talk about it.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay. Okay. To do your productivity walk, like I said, you want to walk with purpose, right? So again, almost the complete opposite of the creativity walk. This is not a casual stroll, right? It's like get your ass moving type of a pace. Like again, if you can do it outside, that's best. Fresh air is going to help give you more of a mental boost. But even doing laps around your house, that's going to work too. Personally, I like to take a productivity walk in the middle of the day. It's usually, I've been working for a couple of hours midday. I almost, my energy starts to dip, or it's like I finished one type of work and now like I have to get into the shit that I really just don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like you're putting it off and you're thinking of all the other things you should do before actually doing it. So I almost use this as like a midday reset. And I always think of it like almost like organizing your kitchen counter, after like a chaotic day or even a chaotic morning. Like you've got coffee mugs and, Joe's unopened mail and like half-eaten breakfast plates and all of that. Like there's just clutter everywhere. And personally, I find it so hard to focus when like I'm looking at a mess, right? But if you just take a few minutes, you kind of clear everything off, suddenly your space feels lighter, it feels calmer. You feel like, okay, I can get stuff done. I can actually like think without being overwhelmed. That's kind of what I think of the productivity walk. Like that's what it does for your brain. It kind of clears all that mental clutter. That way you can focus more, right? And again, trust me, if you're thinking, well, like who has time for this? I can't just leave my desk in the middle of the day. Like bullshit. Yes, you can, right? I can say bullshit. I can call bullshit because that used to be my excuse, right? I was terrified, like literally terrified of stepping away from my desk because I was convinced I was losing precious work time. But you know what I actually did? I would sit there. I'd be stuck in procrastination mode. I would tell myself, I'm just going to like look at my text messages real quick or, open up Instagram just for a little sec before I get started. And then 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes are just gone, right? You get stuck in that, social media vortex. So yes, you do have time. It's 10 minutes. That's it. You can power walk it out and it's going to completely shift all of your energy and all of your focus. And if you just take it from me, personally, I get so much more done on the days that I actually make time for this walk versus the days that I talk myself out of it and I tell myself I'm too busy, right? It's going to, give you a nice little boost. You're going to get so much more done in less time with less stress and procrastination. And I don't care who you are, like we all need more of that.
Mm-hmm. I was working with a woman, and it was during Christmas time this past, or in 2024, and she was like slammed. She's like, my stress levels are at like a 10, and I just feel like I have no time for anything, and I'm just like drowning in work. And I was like, okay. So I gave her this challenge of like every afternoon at work, I want you to get up and go outside and take a walk for, even if it's like 5 minutes. And we started doing this, and she was like, I can't tell you how much more focused I feel, because she would like try to just drink coffee in the afternoon to like power through.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of having that coffee, she replaced that with a 5-minute walk. She felt more energetic in the afternoon. She felt more focused. And she said that her stress like seriously went down during that time because yes, it was that like productivity walk to be able to come back and refocus. But she was also like, it also gave me like a little bit of a break for like me time in the middle of a crazy day where like my attention is going to everything else. So I love that. And, speaking of like feeling better, I think this kind of goes nicely into the third type of walk, which will instantly help you feel better. It'll help you feel more calm and just overall less stressy. So the third type of walk is the problem solving walk. But honestly, I think it should be like the anxiety be gone walk, because this one's all about calming your nervous system. Okay. It's about quieting your mind. It's about stopping those racing thoughts that make you feel stuck and overwhelmed. And like, when your brain just won't shut up and it keeps circling on the same worry, and it's like a really annoying song on a repeat that you can't stop singing in your head, like that's exactly when you know that you need this type of walk. Okay. And this type of walk works because when you're walking at a steady, almost like rhythmic pace, it's not too fast. Like, calm down, Sally. We're not power walking. It's not too slow. Okay. Where like we just smoked a joint and then we're out for a walk. Like, when you do this, it lights up your prefrontal cortex, which is the logic center of your brain. Normally, this is the part of your brain that helps you think logically and problem solve and make decisions. But when you're anxious, it basically gets hijacked by your emotional brain, the amygdala. Okay. And that starts to sound the alarm, making everything feel urgent and overwhelming. But walking balances things out. So each step signals safety to your nervous system, and it helps to bring the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, back online so you can think more rationally instead of feeling like you're drowning in chaos and overwhelm. Okay. It's kind of like, I mean, I've never really dealt with this before, but I would imagine it's kind of like rocking a fussy baby. Okay. I feel like maybe because I'm a
You
fussy baby most
totally
times.
have. Michelle was the fussiest baby.
Yeah, I guess you're right, but she's 25 now. So it's kind
Oh
of,
my God. I don't know. Well, she's still a fussy
she
baby.
really scarred you.
She really did. Yeah.
So if you think about a fussy baby and you're rocking a fussy baby, that gentle, repetitive motion, right, of rocking a baby, it signals safety and calm. And there are studies that show that like rhythmic movement, like walking, actually soothes your nervous system because it engages both sides of your brain. Okay, it's the same principle that's actually used in certain types of therapy to reduce anxiety, which is pretty cool. Okay, and it's also the same reason why people naturally pace when they're stressed. So if like you're on a call, right? Like those of you who maybe like you are on with like a client or whatever, and like you feel like it's like you're better to get up from your desk and kind of walk around. That's why. Like your body is literally trying to regulate itself. Okay, so to do a problem solving walk, you want to focus on keeping a steady rhythmic pace. Okay, so again, unlike the productivity walk, this one isn't about speed, it's about finding a comfortable flow. So think about like you're going out for the walk, you're feeling relaxed, but you're also feeling intentional. Okay, it's kind of like an in between of the problem solving and the creativity walk. So the secret here is syncing your breath with your steps. So try to inhale for 4 steps and then exhale for 4 steps. And if that feels like too long or too short, you can adjust the count to whatever feels more natural for you. But it's almost like a walking meditation. Okay. And so after just a few minutes, you're going to notice that your brain will almost like exhale. So the thoughts that felt loud and chaotic, it all starts to kind of like soften. And even though you might not feel totally fixed right away, you're going to have a lot more mental space to think clearly and approach your anxiety or problem with more perspective.
I think that's so important. Like I said, just, even my personal experience before getting on this call, like all of the problems that I was feeling before I got on a call with you, and I went for a little walk while I was talking to you, they're not gone, right? But I just feel like calmer about them. I think I told you my head, like when I first got on the call, like my head is swirling. I feel like my brain is kind of like swirling. I have all of these stressy, like anxious thoughts. And now on the other side of it, after taking that walk, like all of the same things are there, but I feel like I'm looking at them a little bit more rationally. So again, just so cool, the power that moving your body, something so simple, something that we all just like, we take for granted so much, being able to get up and move around the way your body was intended, you need to start doing it. And that's the thing that I want you to take away from this podcast, right? Like doing these walks, they're not just, nice to haves if you have extra time. Okay, this is one of the easiest, one of the most effective ways to reset your brain, reset your mood, like keep your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, like peak performance while you are still living your life. It's really not a hard thing to do, I do understand, I do empathize, because if your schedule is already packed, or if you're feeling super stressed as it is, I know it can feel like it's impossible to squeeze in another thing. I like, oh my God, now I have to go for like 3 different types of walks. I know and I get it. But if that is you and you're feeling overwhelmed by having to add more walks into your day, I just want you to think about how you can start to stack just one walk with other stuff that you're already doing, right? Because it's not necessarily that you need more time. It's just how do you be more effective or efficient with the time that you have, right? So if we are talking about, practical ways for you to fit in the right type of walking into your busy life, that's where I think number one, you need to assess, what do you need? Like, what is the need for you today? This is where checking in with yourself is really important, right? Are you in a place where, yeah, you need some like creative ideas for a problem? It doesn't even need to be a work problem. It could be, a relationship problem. It could be something, that you're struggling with talking to like your parents about. It could be something that you're worried about in terms of like a financial situation. You need to come up with like creative ideas about it, right? So do you need to think a little bit more creatively? Do you need to be in a place where, you are lighting up the productivity centers of your brain, right? Like you have a big project due, you really need to focus on something, but you just can't get started. Like you feel like you're stuck in procrastination mode. Well, okay, then maybe like check in with yourself and know that you need a little bit of a boost there. Or if you're feeling like I was earlier and just kind of like spiraling, maybe you need to go on a problem solving, or, what'd you call it? Like a anxiety, what'd you call it? Anxiety walk?
Anxiety be gone.
Anxiety be gone walk. Yeah. So check in with yourself first and foremost. What do you need today? Okay. And then from there, start looking for ways that you can incorporate it into your day, right? So if possible, take your team meetings, like when appropriate, on a walk. I know me and Melissa, like, not necessarily like a team, but we kind of are. And that's something that we've agreed on. Like, let's do some of our team meetings while we're walking, right? Or, take a client call when you're out for a walk, or even like when you go for your daily coffee run or your lunch break. Take an extra 10 minutes, or take the long way to go get it. Turn that into your 10 minutes of walking time. Okay. Another thing that you can do, if again, like you are in a place where you need more of like a productivity walk, you're walking fast paced, this is not really it for, your creativity walk, but you can throw on a podcast like, the Stress Sisters. You can grab your friend, your sister, you can, call your mom, because you're probably overdue for talking to your mom, or just like enjoy the silence while you move, right? Try to stack it with other things that you normally enjoy doing. The other thing that I would say is, don't overthink it. You know what I mean? Just start small. You don't have to completely overhaul your entire life and be like, oh, well, now I have to, go on 3 different types of walks a day. And you don't need to do that. Just pick one, start with 10 minutes. Like 10 minutes is just enough to get the cognitive, the mood boosting benefits. And if that even feels like too much, because I know there's some of you, and no shade, because this is how we were about, 2 years ago. Even going on a 10-minute walk, it felt like too much. If 10 minutes even feels like too much, try 2 minutes. Like seriously, just set a timer, start walking around your house. If you hate it, you can stop after 2 minutes. Spoiler alert, you're not going to hate it. You're going to keep going, right? But that's a good way to like ease into it using that 2-minute rule. Personally, I love to take a quick walk in the morning before, my shower. I really like to take a quick walk after dinner to help me digest my food. So you can kind of add it into those areas of your life. Or if you have a dog or a partner or kids, like turn it into a family thing, right? Because like we talked about earlier, walking together actually helps strengthen relationships. So just look at your life and see, where does it make most sense for you to squeeze in just, a 10-minute walk for now.
Yeah, I love that. I was laughing a little bit because I can just think of like those of you who are overthinkers just being like, shit, okay, I have to go for a walk, but like which walk is it? Am I being creative right now? Am I being productive? Like, I mean, like eventually you'll just kind of like know what you need, but like just the best thing you can do is just start moving, and then you'll just kind of like naturally fall into like the walk that you need, right? But if you're someone that's still sitting here being like, okay, I just don't have time for that, I'm just calling BS. If you have time to scroll on Instagram, you have time for a 10-minute walk. Okay, like put your AirPods in, take us with you, just get outside. Your brain is going to thank you so much for it. Okay, so bottom line is, walking is free. It's simple. It's scientifically proven to make you less stressed, more creative, mentally sharper. And if it were a pill, literally everyone would be taking it and there would be an industry making billions of dollars off of it. So, here's your challenge. After this episode, I don't even want you to think about it. I just want you to go do it. Go for a 10-minute walk and make it intentional. Pick what kind of walk you're going to do, whatever you need right now, whether it's creativity, whether it's productivity, whether it's stress relief, just pick one and go for the walk. Okay. While you're on your walk, I want you to take a selfie. I want you to tag us in on Instagram for accountability. So tag us at the Stress Sisters and let us know which walk you tried, whether it was creative, productive, or straight up stressy like Jess needs right now. But we can't wait to see them. And I really, really hope this helps. And as always, if you love this episode, make sure to hit follow, leave us a 5-star review. It helps more powerhouse women like you find the show. And if you want real-time support to stress less, I want you to download our brand new app, Stressy. It's totally free, and you'll join us for weekly live calls, plus get stress-free resources and a community of women who just get it. You can find it in the App Store. It's Stressy with an I, not a Y. So we just made it a little bit more stressy for you to find it, but I have no doubt that you are a smart woman and you can find it. So we'll see you next week. And in the meantime, just remember, you can't always control stress, but you can control how you manage it. And sometimes managing it is as simple as putting one foot in front of the other. I'll catch you later.